Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap. I'm joined by the Trashman, who, as you can see, is in a car somewhere in Utah. Who's he's apparently been talked into helping his friend paint a mural for some rich guy's house. So
a ski lodge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you never know with Trashman. If he's not doing a modeling for some kind of Wrangler jeans commercial, he's in Utah painting a mural. All right. But this is the Waiver Wire Podcast. Thanks to everybody again for tuning in. If you have questions in the chat about guys you can drop or about guys you can trades, anything like that. I know it's kind of past the trade deadline for a lot of you guys, but if you want to get up in here and ask about them, go ahead and ask. We won't be able to answer sit-start questions just yet. We haven't got the matchup model in. The matchup tool is up over at rosterwatch.com, and I'll be getting the rankings sheet out to the boys here shortly, probably a little bit later this afternoon. So just questions about who you can drop, questions about waivers, trades, etc. Feel free to ask them. Trashman, how's the weather in Utah? Is it nice? I guess weather's kind of nice everywhere right now.
It's it's brisk. It's cold, but it's sunny. I mean, most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's beautiful
from
out
up here
there
on this mountain.
It's beautiful. Glad you have internet connection and you made the time to join us here. I think just at the way. So man, and what's up, Harry Snowman, Cody Carpentier, of course, up in the chat. Good to see you guys. Waivers this week, like I said, I don't think it's anything that we need to. Nothing you need to go absolutely crazy over, but there are some teams on bye. There are people who are asking us, if they can drop certain players on these bye week teams. And it's clear that, some people are definitely missing dudes this week. There were some games this week where we saw glimpses of things that probably don't look as likely going into the future. I think we just probably start with the Texans and what happened with Noah Brown, your guy. I noticed that you put him way up high on the list as far as the fab recommendation and sort of above some of the running backs. I don't agree with that with Noah Brown. I don't think he's a guy that you need to make a priority to run out and go get, simply because, one, I think we sort of know who Noah Brown is by now in his career, right? And I know he's been great these last couple of weeks. I'd be interested to hear your take, but this is my Noah Brown take, the wide receiver for the Texans, who this last week on what did he even do? 8 targets, 7 receptions for 172. It sounds bad for me to say I'm not recommending picking that guy up, but I do think we haven't seen a game with Noah Brown wherever they have Nico Collins healthy, Tank Dell healthy, Robert Woods healthy. We're about to see that. There's no way he's not going to be number 4 on the pecking order there, right? Doesn't that have to be the case?
I don't know. I think he might leapfrog Robert Woods. I mean, there's no reason, in my opinion, that Robert Woods should be playing over Noah Brown.
And I guess technically I would say, how much is the number 3 wide receiver worth in the Texans offense? But
dude, CJ
Stroud, right?
Lights out, man. It's like we can't act like this guy isn't the next.
I'm not acting like anything. I'm not acting like anything.
Mahomes.
I just think that, and I also think that since the beginning of the season, it's just been so obvious what's happened with Tank Dell. They can't, with a healthy Tank Dell now being the true Tank Dell, being the, Tank Dell now being it feels like he's the alpha now, even over Nico Collins. Nico Collins coming back being just such a sick 1B. I think that you got Rob, and they're not just going to relegate Robert Woods completely to the bench. They're going to play those 2 guys. They're probably going to play him out of the, probably out of the slot or something like that. And
it's just like, he's been running. CJ Stroud has run probably the most proficient offense in the past 2 weeks in the NFL. And I just feel like if you can get a piece of that, do it.
Well, I feel like you can get a piece of it, but I mean, if Devin Singletary is available, I would take Devin Singletary, pick him up on waivers regardless over him, because regardless of what
is coming back too, though. I mean, like
I'm not sure how much that matters. Dameon Pierce hasn't looked that good this year. And I know it was, it's a wacky game and stuff like that, but they were playing Cincinnati this last week. Devin Singletary, 2 targets, 31 touches, 161 yards, and a touchdown.
But I do think their ability to pass the ball like they have been has opened up the run. Like,
well, I don't think I
don't think Devin Singletary is that much better of a running back than Dameon Pierce to keep him off the field.
But if he's going to be part of that, offense, and we're talking about just being part of that offense, isn't a guy who at least is probably going to be a 50% participant as far as the running back, and those are more bankable points whenever we're trying to just associate them with the offense and an offense being in scoring position and all the rest of that stuff than a wide receiver that could end up as a wide receiver 4.
Devin Singletary, I don't think Devin Singletary scored this week, did he?
Yes, he scored. I think he did. He did everything else. If he didn't, yes, he scored a touchdown. I'm looking at the snap counts, targets, and touches tool right now. Week 10 at Cincinnati, 2 targets, 31 touches, 161 yards, a touchdown on 81% snap count. Now, I mean, you can juxtapose it with week 9 whenever he just completely, just tanked, right? 2 targets, 15 touches for 26 yards. And, that's a 75% snap count with no Dameon Pierce. But I think if we're talking Texans, then that's the way to go. I'm not going to like, I think I like it what Cody says here. Singletary understands the Bobby Slovic offense better, period. Pierce has come out in the media and said it's like a second rookie year. Look, we have Dre, start Waddle, Puka, or Garrett Wilson. I don't know. Check the rankings on the side after we get the rankings model up. Like I said, Dre, you must not have been here at the beginning of the show, but we don't have sit-start answers ready yet. We're just now diving into waivers, and we just now got the matchup tool up. So I'll be getting the matchup, or I'll be getting the ranking sheet out to the boys a little bit later tonight. I could text you guys, but I don't want to. Who's the league winner? Singletary, Mitchell, or Chandler? I mean, that's a good look. Cody's kind of segueing us into the next part of this. When we're talking about Singletary, all these guys are just you can think about them in different ways as far as the top tier of running backs to pick up this week, and all of them come with some kind of warts, right? There's Tykevius Chandler, who was actually being integrated into the offense a little bit more with Cam Akers being out before Alexander Mattison was even concussed, right? If Alexander Mattison can't go this week, which feels like it's super likely, right? These guys, they're not coming back from
if Mattison can't go, then it's Chandler for me.
Chandler this week, because they get the number 2 matchup on the matchup tool on the whole week at Denver for opposing running backs. I don't know who they're not going to give the ball to Kenny and Wangwu or any of these other guys, right? It's going to be a lot of Tykevius Chandler, and he's a guy who, I mean, I know it's just been preseason stuff and hype and everything like that, but man, he looked awesome in the summer this year. He was a guy that we thought would be that we thought could be an excellent handcuff down the stretch during this season. But once Alexander Mattison comes back, does he turn sort of back into dust? It's hard to know exactly what's going to go on there. There's also the Keaton Mitchell stuff where there's 2 sides of the coin, right? There's the side of the coin where it's like, gosh, and hopefully a lot of you guys got Keaton Mitchell and you picked him up whenever we were talking about him on the waiver show, weeks ago, as he was coming off of IR. I unfortunately picked him up. He was off IR for 1 week. He didn't play, so I just dropped him back into the pool. Somebody else in my league got him. But with how dynamic he's looked, he is just not playing much. And there's 2 things that I worry about with him. Okay, when I look at the Ravens and I just look at the amount of running, and look, if you have Lamar Jackson in fantasy, how bad it's been with these running backs just running in. It's been Justice Hill, and it's been Gus Edwards coming in buckets. It's been Keaton Mitchell and all this stuff. Lamar Jackson has not been having big fantasy days these last 3 weeks or so. It's been a barrage. It's probably not going to stay like that, for one. And it's just hard to get by if you're Keaton Mitchell on a 24% snap share, right? 2 targets, 4 touches for 66 yards and a touchdown on 24% of snaps in week 10. In week 9, it was, week 9, that was the Seattle game where he was on 18% of snaps, but he had 10 touches for 134 and a touchdown. It's hard to see, I mean, maybe it could sustain. Everybody on Twitter saying he's going to be like A-Chain. I'm not sure that's I'm not sure that's exactly right. I guess that's probably the ultimate bull case that he could be like that. But you have those two factors working against you. I do think maybe with Keaton Mitchell, the reason why I think he's probably the best choice to say that he's a chance to be a league winner is because if he does get tossed into like a role where he's like, 55% opportunity share, something like that, he will be a league winner for you, right? With Devin Singletary, it would seem like he would have to, the thing with Damian Pierce, has to completely go totally busto to give him that same kind of role. Ty Chandler, it means Alexander Madison can't come back. Zach Charbonnet is also on this list as a guy who needs to be picked up in this kind of tier like this. He's just playing more and more and more. It's kind of if you have Kenneth Walker, you kind of know how that's going with Zach Charbonnet. But he has a big time Kenneth Walker problem, So yeah, I would say if there's one that Cody's asking, it's got to be the league winner. I would say Keaton Mitchell was probably the one, but it would take a change to the circumstance, just like it would take changes to all of the other circumstances for anybody else that we talked about, as far as sort of the top tier of guys that you would go after this week. Devin Singletary, Ty Chandler, Keaton Mitchell, Zach Charbonnet, Tyjae Spears still needs to be on that list too, man.
Yeah, I feel like you need an injury for any of these guys to really be a league winner.
I think that the one guy where you don't need an injury, it could just be based on pure performance, is Keaton Mitchell, right? But it's just not likely.
I just don't see Gus Edwards going away, especially in the red zone.
I've seen Gus Edwards go away in the red zone a couple times for Keaton Mitchell. So, not every one of these is like a 58-yard touchdown. So, let's see. Scooby Taylor, Harry Snowman says he's got to fly. Catch y'all. All right, Snowman. Thanks for joining, brother. Scooby Taylor, I have a dynasty superflex question. Would you trade away Devontae Smith and probably a mid 2025 second round? Would you trade away Devontae Smith and probably for a late 2024 first, late 2025 second, and late 2024 third? I would tell me who your quarterbacks are. Cody Carpentier says Harbaugh, looking back on it, we would want to see him out there more. Yes, I think that'll factor into this coming game plan. I mean, Keaton Mitchell is going to be. I mean, that's the one. If you had to pick one of these guys for that, I think just for I think he brings one of the lowest floors though, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's what you got to weigh. It's like, am I picking up somebody to stash for the whole rest of the season, or am I picking up somebody who I think can be a good floor play to get me through a couple of these weeks because I know I'm going to have to start him, right? Yeah. If that's what it is, if you need somebody this week, you got to go pick up Ty Chandler because he's playing the Broncos and he's gonna get a ton of opportunities. Evan Gittleman in the chat. Thanks so much, brother, for joining. Need trade help. I have 2 offers for Saquon on the table. Which do I take? Debo and James Cook, or Tank Dell and David? You can get Tank Dell and David Montgomery for
Tank and David.
Saquon. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Go get it. Okay. Yeah, I love that one. Scooby Taylor saying, excuse me, that 2025 late second meant to be 2025 late first. I'll be getting 2 late first and a late third. My QBs are T-Law, Dobbs, Love, and Bryce Young. I think you're fine to take that deal.
Yeah.
You're fine to take that deal. These guys saying, dudes, Pollard, what the hell? Alex K saying it. I don't know, man.
I think a lot of it has to have done with game script and using Debo not Debo, CD like an extension of the run game.
Yeah, and they're working it down. I think this stuff with working it down a little bit more is actually could end up helping him a little bit because I think that whenever he's more, just he can just be that slasher, be a tiny bit of a change of pace, but just a more volume change of pace, more like a dominant 1A as opposed to just a featured number 1. I think that could be good for Pollard in the end. The other thing is that this week, like, don't give up on him. Don't be benching him this week against Carolina. As what 10 was it? That's the number 1 10.5 favorites at Carolina, the number 1 matchup in the matchup algorithm this week for opposing running backs. If Pollard doesn't get it done this week, that's when we can start thinking about that. Josh Allen lost me my matchup in a crucial game for my $200 buy-in league. So mad. Well, I mean, this like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they've been having some tough weeks. I thought that was wild that they fired Ken Dorsey today, though. That just sort of came out of nowhere.
They had to blame somebody, and that offense has been kind of stagnant. You could, argue.
Yeah, I totally agree. This dude's asking where AJ Dillon would you put AJ Dillon above? I think if you need to win this week, man, I think that I would still pick up Ty Chandler if I needed to win this week. If you need sort of like a stash and grab, Green Bay does have the Chargers at home this week. That's the number 11 matchup on the matchup tool for opposing runners. But I think it just kind of depends on your team and the makeup of it. But I think he would belong in that first tier among those guys. It's just you want to stash a guy like a Keaton Mitchell just to see if he can get up to that 50-55% opportunity share that we were talking about. Because if he does, he's going to be a guy that you're going to need to be playing through the rest of your fantasy schedule at the flex. Whereas I can't say that for AJ Dillon. I also can't say that that's likely that we get that kind of outcome for Keaton Mitchell, though. All right, wide receivers. We talked about Noah Brown. Some of the other running back. We mentioned guys like Rico Dowdle and stuff. Probably Antonio Gibson if he's still out there. Interesting dude to pick up. I think that I kind of like Demario Douglas better than Noah Brown rest of season.
In that offense,
yeah, he's kind of been getting it done. Trash man, he's been pretty dependable.
But I feel like his ceiling's not that high there.
Okay, well, those are two of the ones at the very top, right?
Yeah.
So look at the cheat sheet for how Trash Man had Noah Brown way above Demario Douglas. I put Demario Douglas back to back with Noah Brown. Any of these other wide receivers that you want to touch on at all? I saw Jaden Reed getting more involved last week. It felt like Jaden Reed's starting to look good. Christian Watson, man.
A.T. Perry, and if Michael Thomas can't go this week, I think A.T. Perry might be a decent flex.
This guy's asking, do I trade Mostert for Rachaad White? Why would you do that? Why would you make a lateral trade?
I think he's probably thinking because A-Chain's coming back.
Yeah, I don't. Is there any way to make it like a trade that's not a trade that's just going to be where one guy just ends up getting swindled? I personally here's my take on Rachaad White. If it's PPR, I personally think he's been just living or dying with this whole pass catching stuff. Maybe it'll keep up though. Maybe it'll keep up. To me, it's felt just a little bit thin that I've been getting this game after game after game like this out of Rachaad White. And this is a guy that has him in a bunch. I have him in a bunch of spots, but been playing him in DFS and stuff like that. I'm feeling like, oh man, that didn't look like he would have gotten there this week with that performance. But he continues to do it. The volume's there. I think those guys, I stack them up really close to one another as far as rest of season, as far as the rankings. But generally, we don't talk about making trades like that unless it's in Dynasty, because a 1-for-1, a running back for a running back, like what you're just engaging with a trade where you're just playing a game of chicken with your opponent, saying like, I think this guy's gonna be better on the season, and you think this guy's gonna be better. But, you're not doing anything that inherently helps both of your rosters. Yeah. But I guess if you were gonna just ask me about it, I'd probably say I guess I'd go with Rachaad White in PPR. Just based on what he's done
that's a coin flip for me.
Yeah. So Jay in the chat, we don't have the answer to your sit start questions just yet. And the good news is you have 2.5 full days before you even have a Thursday game. So you can go and check on our website, RosterWatch, once we get our initial rankings up. All right, Trash Man, can you drop them? All right, this is what people are asking for. Hunter Henry's on bye. He's on bye, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you drop him?
Yep.
Yeah.
John, who's on bye.
You can drop him.
No, your boy Johnu, huh?
Honestly, any tight end that's not a top tier tight end, I think is droppable these days.
Tyler Algier is on bye.
I don't want to drop.
Miles Sanders.
Chuba kind of flopped this last game. Not flop, but he didn't blow anybody's, socks off. I keep Sanders around.
Leonard Fournette.
I mean, you had him that long to where you feel like
I don't know what the heck's going on with Fournette.
I mean, yeah, I would have thought they would have activated him by now. I mean, you can drop him. I mean, Murray had a good game.
If you've held on to him for this long, maybe if you hold on during a little bit more of the week and see if anything.
I mean,
happens.
But if you got somebody, I mean, if you can pick up a Chandler or something, then
if you need a win this week, pick up Chandler. Justice Hill.
Yeah, you can drop him.
All right, the hard ones. Deontay Foreman.
No.
Really? Even with Khalil Herbert to set back and Roschon and all the rest of it?
I mean, I don't know that Khalil Herbert's going to slot right back into what he was doing.
Jahan Dotson after another nothing burger.
You can drop him.
Christian Watson.
No.
Michael Thomas.
I mean, I would want to see what happens with that injury first. It's too early.
So
no.
This is a tough one, man. I legit did not know how to answer this, dude. But it does feel kind of over. Zach Moss.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can drop him.